anywhere the Dagny Dagger may be present. Level 3A soft body armor is just dead weight.
The eMilitia Podcast, Episode 51, Austin Jones, Atlas Arms, the Dagny Dagger, Enjoy Fuckers.
Hello and welcome to the eMilitia Podcast. I'm Bloody Revolutions, and tonight I'm joined by my co-host Rezi, and also very special guest, anarchist rocket scientist turned ammunition revolutionary, Austin Jones of Atlas Arms. Thanks for coming on, man.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I've been interested in your project since Melt showed me your Guns and Bitcoin episode, and my word, I'm very excited about all you guys are doing and just the implications, the technical aspects. It's nice to see innovation in an arena that has just been dead in the water for what feels like almost decades at this point. Guns keep on getting shinier and shinier, and all these interesting things we didn't know we needed, but ammunition stayed pretty similar for a long time. And to see you guys going above and beyond and doing stuff in the civilian market, this is something I really like that you said in Guns and Bitcoin. It's nice to see innovation in firearms that doesn't come from war, and that you do not see that anymore. So I love what you're doing and your reasoning behind it too.
Yeah, thanks. I guess we are at Atlas Arms inspired to do exactly that. To make weapons for individuals. I recently had to write a talk for the Guns and Bitcoin event, Bear Arms and Bitcoin, just a few weeks ago. And while I was doing that, a guy named Alan Seaford, I don't know if any of you know of him, he kind of coined this term, and that it really hit the nail on the head, and I realized that that is what Atlas Arms is trying to be. And that term is the Militia Industrial Complex. I love that term. And, it's just the idea that, like you said, weapons innovation, what little there is, does come from the military. And that's not always the best thing for individuals, for, free men just trying to arm themselves. So that's what we're trying to do. In fact, our motto is small arms for the smallest minority. The smallest minority, of course, being the individual.
Of course, and it's nice to see the civilian rifleman culture really be brought into the 21st century by you guys, because it's not just dirty peasant civilians being handed the neutered crumbs of the military-industrial complex where we have that's what all our technology is.
That's what I feel it is.
Just the crumbs of war crimes, and it's like, oh great, thank you. We'll LARP defending ourselves from you guys with the remnants of what you guys use, but instead you guys are like, nah, we're gonna innovate and do better than the government. We're gonna make the lowest bidder technology look like shit, and we're gonna just leap ahead of it and leap ahead of the state's control of civilians and what we can have to defend ourselves. And so just everything you guys do, it's everything I'm in this ideology and this movement for. It's wonderful. So I'm excited.
Thank you so much for well, I guess I should say I appreciate your appreciation. But while you were saying that, it's really funny because I just had this picture. We always see the Kurds fighting in Syria, all of these armed conflicts other places in the world, and we look at their comm block AK weapons, and you're like, man, they're fighting with this trash. It's leftover from the Warsaw Pact. But we basically have the same thing going on, except we just kind of inherit ours from NATO. So it's not really any different.
Yeah, we have the unique distinction of thinking that we're free because we buy our weapons that are neutered remnants of our military-industrial complex, whereas they scavenged theirs for free from Russian boxes and crates left all over their desert. So, how free are we? And, hopefully by the end of this episode, everyone will start to feel like we're on our way to being a lot more free. And I don't call you revolutionary with the to be funny or anything. I truly believe this is pretty big for our movement and just technology in general. So maybe we should just jump into what the project is, and then we can go into the whys and the hows. So the Dagger. How would you just summarize it before we dive in?
So the Dagny Dagger is a project, and more specifically a product that takes the form first in 9mm and 9x19 of a cartridge that can easily penetrate armor, but circumvents the federal definition of armor-piercing ammunition, and is therefore legal to import. Not that there's that happening, but more importantly, to manufacture in the United States for general civilian sale. So.
Wonderful. And this is something, was it 86 that the regulations that you're circumventing were first brought into law?
Yeah, 1986 is when they went into effect. The regulations started as the Law Enforcement Officers Protection Act of 1985, but it went into effect in 86.
Gotcha. So, I mean, this is just something that no one's been able to touch for decades, and finally it's like
34 years.
Yeah, like that's far too long to ignore.
Now, why would you say the average citizen would need such a round?
Oh, of course, an important question.
Well, yeah, so me personally, I don't care if they need the round. The project isn't really purposed first and foremost because people need it, just like we all want belt-fed machine guns, even though the gun controllers would say, well, why do you need that?
It's medicinal.
Yeah, right. But I think now, at this point in the project and kind of some of the things we've accomplished, as well as the bizarro happenings of 2020, I think it's maybe more obvious than before why you might want this stuff. So, so I guess I should say, for the listeners who don't know, we recently released a demonstration video showing the armor penetrating capability of the round, as well as performance in ballistics gel. And personally, as an engineer, as the head of this project, I am honestly more excited to see what it does in ballistics gel, an analog to soft tissue, than the armor penetrating effect. So, look, these days, there's a lot of armored thugs running around hurting people, no matter if they wear, if they wear all black clothes or they wear shiny badges. And then even without that, the fact of the matter is, I believe that this is perhaps the most devastating 9mm cartridge on the market.
Seriously, I'm sure I'll include a couple clips of the demo and the intro footage on the YouTube version of this podcast, but my word, that gel was not looking too good after that round, and good lord. What was it, 2,300 FPS out of a Glock?
Yeah, that's right, out of a Glock 17 length barrel. So, my test gun is my personal sidearm.
Yeah.
And it's a Glock 19 with an extended slide. So it's the same length as a Glock 17 slide, but it's just a 19 grip. 2,300 feet per second out of that, with a 3-inch barrel, which is just about the shortest, most compact 9mm barrel you'll find. It's still 2,000 FPS.
Jesus. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting round to see all the technical testing you do. I mean, just this little taste, it's insane, and bravo, I gotta say.
Like, my shorty 5.56 is barely faster than that.
Seriously. And then I saw Atlas Arms was calling it their poverty pony, the 9mm AR build they had the big fuck off barrel. I'm wondering what kind of results we're going to see out of that.
Well, I can actually tell you a little bit about that, because we did that test yesterday. We just haven't posted the video of it yet. So I guess like the first to know the results besides people at Atlas Arms are you guys. So we haven't because all this video and the publicity effort and we've been doing a lot of administrative work. So unfortunately, we haven't made any new prototypes in a while, and we haven't had any left over. So the only prototypes we had to test this performance in a carbine barrel with were old prototypes that are slower and heavier than they are now. So knowing that they get about 75 FPS lower velocity in a pistol barrel than what we're using now. When we shot those out of the carbine barrel, we got an average of 2630 FPS. So with any luck, and I think that will be there, I expect over 2,700 feet per second out of a carbine barrel with our current prototypes. They're of course a lot more optimized than those old ones.
Yeah, man.
Did you say that was 16-inch?
Yeah, 16 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's not short. Like most people don't use 16 inches, but I figured I'd use we do 16 inches just to show kind of like the maximum capability.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, of course.
Have you tested that on armor yet, or just FPS?
With in a carbine barrel, no, we haven't done armor yet. Because
it takes a bit more money to have the material to test that kind of thing.
Well, no, it's not. It's not even about the money at this point. I mean, yeah, armor is expensive, and that is definitely a concern. But anymore, it's the time, because since COVID hit and now the riots, you can hardly find a decent armor that's not
true.
on like a 3-month back order. So that was, and I would say like too, that was that demo video that you can watch of us penetrating that AR 500 level 3A hybrid armor. That was the first time that we had shot armor that is that good of quality. We had one shot at that. Say again.
Oh, just kind of scraps before that?
Well, no, not well. It wasn't scraps before that, but AR 500 hybrid is it's 3A rated and it's soft armor, but it's premium 3A soft armor. It performs better than others. So we had tested other brands of 3A. I think like Spartan armor, but it's the first time we shot that because the fact of the matter is we don't have any more, and we've had some on order all the time, but we can't get it in fast enough to do all the tests we'd like to do.
You just know there's preppers somewhere like screeching at the thought of you guys shooting up armor as half the country's trying to get some right now. Like, no, dude. But
yeah, right.
Man,
well, I would offer those preppers. So hey, man, we'll pay you for armor. We're hurting. We need it.
I'll probably have some AR 500 plates I can chuck your way soon enough.
Hey, if you want to, we'll buy them. But if we want to test it, if we are testing it, chances are it's not going to be worth much in a couple of years anyway. So.
Yeah, true enough.
Yeah. If it works out, then you didn't need it anyways. Carry an extra magazine.
Yeah, and more tourniquets. Yeah. So, do you think they'll be able to beat you around with armor eventually? It'll take quite some time for armor to catch up.
I mean, so like, look, at the end of the day, what we're doing right now is with 9mm, and there's only so much you can ask out of a pistol cartridge.
Oh, yeah.
We're pushing the limits of it really hard.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still like, I think that it's possible that we can beat level 3 steel plate with this 9mm out of a pistol. I think that it's even probable that we can do it out of the carbine, the 16-inch barrel.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I couldn't even ask it to perform that, and to clean up the rifle armor, the level 3 plates, the level 3 plus. For that we're going to need the rifle cartridges developed in the Dagger. So, we're planning on like on 5.56 and 308. 300 blackout. So we'll get it. We'll get it easily, you know, to like defeat 3+. Level 4, that is some. It's a beast. I'll say that. You know, I am not convinced that with the cartridges that we're developing, because again, like the AP ammo ban only applies to quote unquote handgun cartridges. So of course the ATF being the ATF and never budging an inch, they take that to be if there is a pistol variant that is produced that shoots that cartridge. Yeah, that's why we can't have armor pierced, like it's a handgun ammunition, right? But that's why we can't have AP, 7.62. That's why by 51 we can't have AP 5.56 because people thought it would be, a great idea to make a pistol, a pistol configuration of it with a short barrel and a
I blame the ATF for making an AR with a shorter barrel pistol.
It's just give and take, isn't it? With the ATF, it's like, hey, we found a loophole. They're like, okay, we just banned 2 more things because of that. Fuck.
Yeah, that is how it goes. But look, I mean, what sucks about it is like, if it weren't for that ban in the first place, then we wouldn't want to make AR pistols because we would have proper AP ammo in our actual handguns. But that's just kind of how it goes. So I'm just every day of my life, I just kind of live in fear that somebody's gonna be like, oh, let's push the limits and make a 50 BMG pistol, and then you won't be allowed to buy AP 50 BMG anymore either. So that's how it goes. But so
okay, yeah. Is it against the law to develop AP ammo or just to manufacture it?
Well, I mean famously, all of these laws end in kind of ambiguous spaces like that. I mean, who knows? It depends on if they want to hurt you or not, really.
Yeah, because I was gonna say you could develop it in open source and go, well, kind of what
well,
we
yeah,
came
but
up with.
Even to develop it though involves to manufacturing it. So the question is manufacturing a commercial activity, or is manufacturing just to make like a single cartridge of it?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so like going back to the question a while ago, we're kind of focused on things that apply under that ban. It's because like you can have armor piercing 30-06, 300 Win Mag, 338 Lapua. Those are fine because there hasn't been a quote unquote handgun made chambered in those. So I think our bullets could defeat level 4 just fine if they were in that. But I don't think anything that we make the Dagny Dagger in is going to be able to beat level 4. But we do have a special project kind of purpose for that. They will most likely take the form of a 12 gauge slug and may or may not involve high explosives. So
I'm
eventually we'll get to the level 4, just not yet.
Good stuff. It's you're peeking over its shoulder watching you guys.
Great.
So I guess we're a little bit all over the place, but that's on brand. So what got you into all this stuff? Like why would because you have an impressive resume which we can get into, but what brings you to actually I guess let's start there. What's your background? How does one come to designing revolutionary civilian armor piercing ammunition?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that question really comes down to like 2 factors. One, there's like the motivation, which is, well, it's political.
Yeah.
And kind of an interest in guns in general. And then there's the capability or the the skill background of myself as an engineer. I guess I'll start with the engineering background first. I always wanted to be an engineer. I knew from the age of like 8 years old that I wanted to be an aerospace engineer. I wanted to work on spacecraft. And that's what I went to school for. And I'm pretty, what's the word? I would ask people, I suppose, to question whether it's worth it to go to university. in general, but I did, and I ended up with a degree in aerospace engineering. And all of most of my my classmates, I graduated with 23 other aerospace engineering majors, and they went straight to work for ostensibly the military industrial complex. Most of them for Boeing, working on the B-1B bomber. They made weapons that are sold to the United States government almost exclusively, and of course are often used to just indiscriminately bomb, as it turns out, weddings and funerals and hospitals and
those dangerous state enemies are infringing on our freedoms.
Yeah. So, like, while the technology that they work on in their 9-to-5 cubicle is really interesting, and I think it's really cool, I knew that I would have ethical issues doing that kind of stuff. So I started to look for another way, and that's very difficult to find a job in aerospace engineering these days. In fact, some like aerospace/defense is almost like the name of the industry.
It's like a government monopoly on such things.
Yeah. So, like, luckily, a guy I grew up with who was on the U.S. national Taekwondo team was working on starting a company, had been kind of spinning his wheels for a while, trying to fix the problems with electronic scoring in high-level Taekwondo tournaments. So, like, Taekwondo is an Olympic sport. They use an electronic scoring system in the body protection that is worn by the competitors, but it's terribly unreliable, and it's so bad that it has killed the technique used in the sport, and people basically
for just the game.
Yeah. So exactly. So people would, even at the Olympic level, people would just game the system of like the electronics rather than actual Taekwondo. So he needed an engineer, and I had a semester left in university, so I was like, hey, well, let's do it. And I threw myself into that project, kind of breathed life into this thing, he had been trying to work on forever. And we did it. That company went on to become 2020 Armor, and I'm proud to say it's kind of a feather in my cap that very, very, very few hardware startup companies actually make it. And right now, we've made it. We're in the black. It's the product is all over the place, and even like Adidas is about to buy some of the company in a couple of months. So that worked out, and I'm really grateful for that. And I should say, for those interested, because I figure probably some of your audience is, it might be worth looking up. We're using a new type of sensor that was only developed in 2012 that can sense impact energy, and it can tell how hard the player is kicked. And we've got like life bars on the vests themselves, and the life bar decreases with how hard you're kicked. So it's like it makes a video game essentially out of Taekwondo.
Holy crap!
So
you were the guy that makes sci-fi concepts into reality.
Apparently I have something of a knack for that. Hey, it's funny now that you mention that, because we had a BioShock theme in our demo video, so apparently I really am obsessed with bringing the video games to life.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I have not seen anyone do it better. You saw those all the exoskeleton kind of stuff with the Future Soldier projects in the early 2000s never really go anywhere, but I think they're starting to. But to actually see someone out there making sci-fi concepts reality, I mean, I'm sure we'll see that life bar suit all over the place, in those kind of sports soon enough.
I hope so. It'd be really cool. I mean, who wouldn't? I want to get in Taekwondo just to do that.
Well, shit. The NFL could start using it in the helmets.
Yep.
To tell how hard the guys are hitting the head.
Well, what's really funny about it is the company that developed this sensor that we commercialized into this product. We are to this day the only commercial application for that. The first people that they wanted to sell it to was the NFL and college football to tell when players had concussions. But it turns out that they don't want people to know.
They don't want to know. They don't want to know. Yeah, definitely.
That's messed up.
It is. Yeah.
Damn.
But so like that whole thing, that even though it was armor against kicks and punches, it's body armor just the same. And so that was really my first foray into the world of how do you protect the body from from impacts. And after a while, I kind of like finished up my part of the project. My business partners still kind of run the business part of it, but as an engineer, that's not for me. That's not what I'm into. So from there, I found employment with Bigelow Aerospace, working, which is ostensibly part of the private space industry.
Oh, cool. I was wondering about that
Yeah.
because I don't know if I just missed it when you were on the Guns and Bitcoin podcast, but I wasn't sure if it was like NASA related, but I presumed it was more private.
I mean, it is NASA related.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like Bigelow Aerospace develops what I guess you could call inflatable space habitats. So they're capsules that are meant for human beings to live in.
Oh,
and they can either be just modules on a larger space station, or they can just be just the pod itself. But the idea is you can only fit a certain volume into a rocket to launch it into space. So then once it gets out into space, it inflates. So you have a much larger space to live in than you would have if it were just a rigid structure. So, but space is a tough place, and there's a bunch of micrometeoroids whizzing about in orbit at like 6 to 12 kilometers per second. Much faster than any gun on Earth can shoot a bullet. And we have to protect the spacecraft from that orbital debris. And so, some of it's like the size of a grain of sand, but it'll still do just crazy damage.
Yeah.
And that's what I worked on is, being inflatable, the shell of the spacecraft has to be flexible. And I worked on the micrometeoroid shielding. So, through 2020 Armor and through Bigelow Aerospace, I really learned an awful lot about, soft armor and how to stop ballistic impacts and how to armor a human being. And then I guess you could say I became some sort of a turncoat, a traitor of sorts. And instead of working for Team Armor, I started working for Team Penetrator.
Yeah, like, all right, I'm sick of this. It's getting too good. Let's stop breaking stuff.
Hey, breaking's more fun, isn't it?
I could tell from your demo video, you're chucking the armor down.
Oh yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Well, maybe you're like, yeah, this shit can be beat, and I know how to do it.
Like, enough said. Yeah, I was gonna say it's very interesting. I guess, was it a happy accident or just kind of your area of expertise that everything was kind of in your body of work was somewhat related?
Yeah, I guess it was kind of a happy accident, but that kind of brings me into the other part of it, which is political motivation.
Yeah.
I since like early high school, I've had like a very strong libertarian leaning. I've always kind of romanticized the American founders and what they did to advance the cause of like human freedom. Unprecedented what they did. They were the first people to like stake their lives and their political being on the idea that men are created equal and ought to be equal under the law. They took great risk in doing that, and they were all, they weren't just politicians. They were true men of substance. They were kind of Renaissance men, and they were inventors and farmers and horticulturalists and scientists. Like Benjamin Franklin laid he laid a cornerstone of physics, discovering that there is, positive and negative electricity. And so I admire those guys a lot. I've been brought up in kind of the typical American conservative household. And in high school, I started to realize, well, like, American conservatism now is really not at all kind of the traditional values that were taught from the days of the Revolution and the Declaration of Independence and all of that. So I guess over time and through college, I became maybe more and more radical, kind of realizing that, it's silly that for me to say that, oh, these things should be privatized, but these things are the purview of the government. And I started to believe in a political model where, like, yes, the American founders did great things for freedom, but look, that's not the end. We have to take it to the next step.
Yeah,
And
experiment.
and so I started to believe, like, of course, everything that the government does can be privatized, and we can function without the state in a voluntarist society. But I thought there's one thing that we needed the state to still do, and that was to ensure intellectual property rights. There's no way. Yeah, that was my hang-up. It's weird. It's
I've
weird.
never heard that one. That's good for you. It's not cops
Well,
or military. Like
remember,
Well, coming from an engineer,
exactly.
he wants his stuff. He wants what he comes up with for himself.
100%.
I can see that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, exactly. Being an engineer, that made a lot of sense to me. Like, people need to be able to make a living on what they create, or else they can't make a living as an inventor.
Yeah.
And then, my first company at 2020 Armor, I helped write, like, a lot of the patent and the IP that company owns. I personally wrote myself. And through that whole stupid, intricate, contrived process, I realized intellectual property is entirely, what's the word? Arbitrary. That, like, none of this makes sense. It's all just completely made up. And that was when I kind of went full anarchist. And I don't believe that just about any functions of the state are legitimate now. So,
and even the ones that are done with a lot of red tape and at way more costs than they can be done in the free market.
It's true. I mean, yeah, they build the roads, but, like, I would prefer to contract the road builders myself.
Yeah. I mean, just your project. Can you imagine the amount of money it would take for the government to get to the stage you're at?
Oh God, I know. I marvel at that all the time. Like, I try to think about that. Like, what do you think? How much money do you think it would cost?
Oof, God. I mean, I have, yeah. Wouldn't even
well, how good are you? How much can you weasel out of them?
I imagine it would be something ridiculous. Actually, let's give it a very quick Google for, like, what was 6.5 Creedmoor military?
I don't think so.
Was there a 6.5 military round?
They're working on a 6.5 military round now, I think, or maybe it's 6.8. I don't remember.
There's a lot of old 6.5 military rounds.
Let's have a look. Let's just see if we can pull up a number. Nothing. This is popular mechanics, so they're probably blowing them. But anyway, I would presume it would be like 20 million or something just at a start, to form a committee to discuss getting a new round.
Well, see how much Smith & Wesson spent on the 40 cal.
40? Oh my God.
Yeah, just see, because that was like what, FBI, in the 90s? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because that was commissioned by the government.
Yeah. Did the 40 cal cost to develop?
I don't know if you're gonna find anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all just ballistics. All right, but we all know how the government works. I'm sure it was grossly inflated. Yeah, I won't put you on the spot and ask numbers unless you're comfortable with it, like rough.
No, like I'll say this. So, like, a lot of the road forward, a lot of what we still need to fund is, and it's very important, is like manufacturing processes. Like, how do we got to develop, like, a machine and a method to mass produce this new design, because you can't use the old equipment because it's not designed to make stuff like this. And that not for loading, for like to make the projectile itself. You'll still use the same loading equipment. And then of course, like the DIY stuff. We got to develop tooling for the Ghost Gunner. We got to develop code for the Ghost Gunner. Stuff like that. But we are nearing. We don't need that much more money than we've already used. We've already spent for development of the cartridge. And it's looking, including the money that I've put into the project personally in the beginning because we needed some capital to get going with. It looks like we will have developed this cartridge for like $50,000.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Probably like several tens of thousands, but
yeah, but
damn, that sounds so cheap to me.
Like
it is.
When you look at weapons development, I mean, obviously, damn near all of it is from government contracts or government contract incentivized development, and so obviously they just chuck sacks and sacks of cash, or trucks of cash.
You're getting really close to like giving my guns and Bitcoin talking about how like the military industrial complex is the reason why the gun industry is so screwed up.
Dude, you know how many hillbillies got 50 grand in their Harleys for like 50,000 to develop a new round that's armor piercing? That's like, not expensive. Yeah. That's innovative, is what it is.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Previous experience in hardware startups, I know that most investors in the entrepreneurial space, they don't even want to bother with something as low as $50,000. They're looking to invest like 500,000, $1 million, 2 million, whatever. But I guess I will say I'm proud of what we've done with so little.
Seriously,
you should be
100%. That's insane. And like I said, this is like innovation. This isn't just like making a new round that goes bang like anything else out there. This is like problem-solving development.
I went like 3,000 over on a $5,000 remodel on my bathroom. Seriously.
Let's talk about fiscal conservatism. Austin can lead the talk, not Resi. But yeah, damn, that just really kills the argument of the public sector being more efficient in any regard. That's very impressive. Just as a side note.
Okay, you were talking about the manufacturing and the home, and I was wondering about the material itself. Like, how would the home loader obtain this weird alloy?
Yeah, so this is where I have to like preemptively tell people like, yes, we're an open source operation. Yes, we're going to eventually tell you everything that there is to know about this cartridge, this projectile. But out of prudence for legal strategy, I can't disclose what that alloy is. I will say it is an alloy. It's very exotic. It's expensive, unfortunately, but you can blame that on the government for making me use something expensive when I could have just used steel. It is significantly harder and stronger than AR-500 steel, which is of course what armor is made of. But yeah, I think so. Like you could approach an industrial company domestically and get a quote, and it would be pretty expensive. But I think eventually, just to make it easier for people to buy this stuff, we will probably sell it retail through our website or something like that.
That would be perfect.
Yeah. We'll make sure that people can get it easier, and of course, like maybe it's a little naughty of me. But being an anarchist, I don't care. I have to stay completely 100% legal, and I must caution you I would recommend against it. But when you can make it at home, no one the wiser. You don't have to be stuck with the expensive exotic stuff. You could just do it out of so.
Seriously, I mean, in the a self-defense situation for any individual is fortunately a pretty rare thing. So if it gets all the way to the point that you have to use ammunition to defend your life, the legality of the material of the round that you use to successfully defend your life, if you're successful, is probably near the very last thing that you should be worrying about at that stage. But also,
what do they
on that note?
They say like better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6 or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yep, exactly.
And this is like you know, when we talk about someone breaking into your home armored, whether they wear a costume or not, that's like, you know, the worst case scenario.
Well, here's the thing: is you don't know if they're going to be armored coming through that door.
Yeah.
At whatever time in the day or night.
Yeah.
And you don't have time to change magazines depending on what you think their threat level is. Well, like, you should be as armed as you possibly need to be or can be. Right?
Yeah. I would agree with that.
That's the beautiful thing about your cartridge as well, which I think we haven't even touched on yet. I mentioned it in my pre-show kind of advertising for this episode, but the Dagny Dagger is not just armor piercing. It's the first of its kind armor pierce. Is it? I don't know which way you do it, but it's armor piercing hollow point rounds, which
right.
People are like, that's not a thing. It's like, not yet. Or I guess it is
it
now.
Is now.
Rather. Yep, 100%. That's just incredible. I mean, rather than having to choose, like, you know, as Rezi was saying, you know, who's breaking into my house? You just grab the mag, the mag with the red tape, because you know it's got some Dagny daggers in it, and you know, I mean, how would it perform? I guess this is more practicality than its original purpose, but I guess against drywall it probably punch right through, huh?
Yeah, it would. So, like, lots of people ask about that, and of course, like, I think, like, the kind of response that maybe the present silly gun industry has trained people to ask is, but what about over penetration?
Yeah.
And to that response, I think, like, over penetration, yeah, that's a concern in your house. If you live with other people, and there might be somebody on the other side of that wall that you don't want to kill, don't use the dagger for home defense. I wouldn't use it for home defense. But I think that over penetration becomes a really silly thing when you're talking about carry ammo, something you carry outside of the home. Because look, I mean, if you have to be concerned about shooting people through your intended target, you have to be concerned about shooting people when you miss your intended target. So, you know, you probably shouldn't be shooting anyway if you're not prepared for people behind that guy to get hit.
I think everyone has that hero, you know, not everyone, but a lot of people have that hero fantasy of being, you know, the guy with the gun when the next mass shooting's happening, and you know, they're like, there's 500 people screaming and running, and they're the only sheepdog to protect the sheep against the wolf, Molan Lobby. Yeah, that's probably going to be the scenarios where it's going to be like, oh, but what about this? Are probably minute in comparison to, like, well, the intended purpose, you know.
Right. And I have to say, though, I am, though, pretty proud of how it performs that way. Through an entire block of ballistics gel, the core stays stable the entire way and comes out of the bag just as it appears to be just as stable coming out as it was going in. So that that speaks volumes for, it'll overpenetrate your drywall in your house, so don't use it for that. But when you want to shoot through stuff, it should shoot really, really well through car doors and come out stable on the other side.
Damn, that's awesome. For us, some people right now are like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, they're not listening to the show though.
No, I guess that's true enough. Just our friendly federal agents listening in, but
Hi ATF.
Yeah, hi FBI, hi NSA, hi CIA. we got a foreign co-host, so CIA gets involved too. Oh, that's a important point. I don't think we've mentioned this on the show before. We have, like, quite a few listeners in Quantico, Virginia.
Oh.
I'm not fucking around. Me and Mel were looking at the analytics one time. We're like, oh, there's like 50 regular viewers in Quantico. So I don't know if there's just like a lot of people out there or what's going on. But anyway, hi Feds. So where do we go from there? So being able to do it at home. You also mentioned on another show about building it from different materials. I mean, and also here building it with steel. So that's something to keep in mind for our listeners. Is it doesn't have to be just the intended material, because while it won't be as effective as intended, building it from different materials is possible, and it'll still have like a limited degree of the full effect of the original, right?
So when you build it at home, you could use whatever material. You could use stuff that's still legal that might just not give you the best performance. I mean, it still perform really great. It still have that great, devastation on soft targets, but it might not, penetrate as well. And I should say, for all you feds listening, I am not telling people to make illegal ammunition here. I'm just saying there's gonna be
as an engineer.
Yes, exactly.
Not a lawyer.
Right. I like that there's not going to be anything to stop it. I am not going to make illegal ammunition because I'd be the first person to, get slaughtered in the middle of the night because of it. But yeah, the possibility is there, and I really like that. I really like that people don't have to be confined to whatever the government says. That there's kind of a wilderness of possibilities, that human behavior is not confined by what the authorities would like you to do or not do.
Now, does it use a standard 9mm shell?
Yes, but so there's a new type of case called Shell Shock NAS3. I could double as their number one fanboy. I think that these cases, NAS3 cases, I think they are the first significant, appreciable step forward in firearms technology since Gaston Glock invented the plastic frame service pistol in the 80s. I really think highly of them. They're cheaper than brass. They're like half the weight of brass. They take they're rated for, 65,000 PSI, which is way over the pressure 9mm. You can reload them infinitely. I've found that when I reload them, they tumble really easily. They get polished really, really nicely. I don't even have to size them unless I use overpressure loads. I don't know what else. That you can pick them up with a magnet. There's more to say about them. I just can't say everything about them is better than brass.
So do they have any in stock?
Yeah, they do. They do. And again, you can buy them cheaper than you can buy new brass cases for 9mm.
Now, I seen you. It looked like you were pressing a bullet into some sort of plastic.
Oh yeah. So they're in the video when it's set after it says was it entirely open source or something like that. There are two shots. One of them is the reloading press that is loading the projectile into the case, and the first shot though is assembling the core and the jacket together. So that black piece you see, that is that little cup. That is the jacket, and that sharp metal stud is the core. And a lot of people think that this is like a Sabo round. I can see where they're coming from with that, but it is not. That is a bonded jacket, and those two pieces are bonded together. They stay together all the way in flight, and it is the jacket that is responsible for the devastation that you see in the ballistics gel.
Okay. That answered a lot of questions.
So I think,
man.
Is the jacket a metal, a plastic?
It's a polymer. It's not the biggest secret in the world which polymer, but that is something that we'd like to kind of reserve for when we go open source with everything.
No, that's cool. That's cool, but it would be something available to the general public.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You could just order this stuff, 10 feet at a time from McMaster Car.
Okay.
It's
all
really
right.
cheap. Yeah.
Do we want to talk about timing? I mean, you released the video. When would you say the round would be complete? When are you going to release it?
So timeline is another one of those things where I just can't have a great answer for now.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, we're a 501c3 research corporation. 100% of this development work is funded by charitable giving. And we haven't, we passed halfway just today, actually, as we're recording this. But we still haven't filled our goal. We still haven't met our funding needs. So, normally you're not supposed to say this when you're asking people for money, but we're going to do it anyway. Regardless of how much money we get, we are going to deliver.
It'll just take a little bit longer.
Exactly. And so we've had to go, we have to take like the most conservative, slowest, cheapest.
No, you're like, I'm doing it. If you guys want to help me, I'll accept your help, but it's still coming.
Yeah. Right. So I think we'd be done. I think we'd be done in like 6 months if we could fill that bar like today. Nice. But without that funding being met, I think we're looking at finishing the design of the cartridge in the beginning of 2021. Towards the end of 2021, kind of finishing up with developing manufacturing methods, both DIY and commercial, and then hopefully starting production in 2022. That's the best estimate I can give you. And of course, the more money we have, the better idea I can tell you.
Yeah, the manufacturing aspect, people don't understand. Like, you can design something, but then if you want to design a machine that does it relatively fast, is complicated also.
Yes. I'm glad you say that, because I think most people don't get it. They think, oh, well, I see a bullet in your hand, sell it to me. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I can make this myself, but they're going to cost you $50 a piece.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something I might have to discuss with you later on. But so several of us in the eMilitia, and then a lot of people on the kind of Instagram libertarian community, we work with a guy in the community called Spirit of Resistance, and he does like a lot of merch, and so we'll always do on the side kind of charities, which will be like, I don't know, fundraisers for people in the community who might have medical issues or various related things like that. And so a portion of the sales will go towards that at the end of the month. And so I'm sure a bunch of libertarians would be very eager for their merch purchases to also support the development of the Dagny Dagger. So I'll have to discuss that with him. But if you guys are open to that, I think
you could also
if you can swing that. I mean, I'd appreciate it very much. I know all of us at Atlas Arms would, and that'd be great.
It's right up all of our street. It's like, this is one of the biggest projects,
You could also get them to design some merch for you.
Yes, I was about to say. I'm a graphic designer, so I was meaning to message you guys about that, but I'm 100% willing to help with all sorts of stuff if you need it.
We'll probably take you up on that. We've been meaning to. We just now Control Pew, who unfortunately is not in the chat, has actually been.
Sick as a dog.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Good luck to him. Good luck to you, buddy. Control Pew has been getting some patches made for us, and for a long time we wanted to sell, like T-shirts, patches, hats, whatever. People have been asking for that, but we're not too many people over here, and between all the administrative work we've got to do to run the company and the development, we just haven't had time.
And your engineers, you don't want engineers designing merch.
Well, I think I've done fairly
maybe not
well
even designing it. You don't want engineers selling it.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, you don't want me to sell it because that would take time away from development, and then it would never get done. But
like, can we get a T-shirt? Do you want a bullet or not?
Exactly.
but I'll have to we'll have to talk about that. But so that's something worth discussing. You guys, obviously it's all, as you mentioned, charity run and charity, not dependent, but reliant. That's the same word. You know what I mean. Charity is a big part of the development you guys do. So, and it's not just money wise. Like, you guys need help in other aspects, right?
Yeah, I mean that's true. Of course, there's always like the easy one, which is like, if you like the project, spread the word. Maybe you don't have a big pocketbook, but other people that might hear about a project from you do. But also, like we're not like an employer here. Everybody who contributes to this project in the technical work is also just putting in volunteer hours. For me, I do most of the engineering. We have an intern named Will that we don't pay him. He does good work for us on a different project. Our secretary, critical to keeping the company running. Files all the paperwork, keeps the books, all that stuff. She doesn't work for us. It's just all volunteer. So, from engineers, especially electrical engineers, to graphic design work, like you talk about, just like anybody who has a skill that they think they can that we might be able to use. Everything's volunteer time, volunteer money.
The Instagram Liberty community, I think, is very much gun centric. So I think once word of this project finally starts spreading to there, because I know on Twitter there's a lot of excitement, but Instagram is kind of late to the party as always. I love my guys, but come on. But I think we'll see lots of people like, well, I want to get involved. I want to do anything I can to help speed this up and spread the word. And I think this will really start getting out there. So hopefully, and there's a lot of local guys who would be very interested in this, who available for whatever, I'm sure. So we'll have to start getting word about that.
I should say it's been very interesting. They're not exactly my ilk, but the nature of the project has put me into contact with like the actual Boogaloo movement. And it's been a very interesting thing getting to know those guys and their culture and what they're like. Again, it's not my speed exactly, but and a lot of those guys are from, they're in the Phoenix area. Some of them are up in Las Vegas. Some of them are in northern Arizona. I know that they wanted to come see some of this stuff in person, and they support the project. So shout out to them.
I think a lot of that same kind of group will be the ones who they hear about this for the first time. They'll be like, "Oh, where's my wallet?" But yeah, it's something to keep in mind for everyone. If you're like excited about this, then by all means help out any way you can, because the more that goes into it, the quicker it'll come about. And we all support our own. We try, and this community is good about that. Volunteerism, of course.
Yeah, that's great. I wouldn't want it any other way.
Absolutely not. So something we started to touch on earlier that I think is an important aspect of this is the legal strategy that I found quite interesting. Because while a lot of people are, there are patents involved in this, which will make people own initially, but your reason for them I loved. So do you mind going into that a little bit?
I'm sorry, we might have to edit this in post, but can you say that again? You're breaking up a little.
Oh, no worries. So I wanted to get into kind of the legal strategy behind what you guys are doing, because a lot of people will be kind of especially after our talk about intellectual property earlier, but you guys have patents for the Dagny Dagger, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
And so, your reasoning for them I found to be like uniquely libertarian, and like really awesome. It was cool to hear him being used that way. So would you mind like going into that?
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty stoked about it too. I was kind of happy to kind of figure that out. But of course, I have previous experience writing patents, so like I'm no patent attorney, but I do generally know what's going on with the system, how the patent system works. So I know that the United States Patent and Trademark Office, as a matter of course, publishes all patent applications to the public. So it doesn't even matter if you actually are awarded the patent, even just the application goes to the public. Well, so I wrote a patent for the Dagny Dagger, or at least the technology in the Dagny Dagger. and went into very explicit detail on exactly how it's made, because of course the United States government will publish that. So we have we've had the federal government publish our open source project for us. So this will come into play, of course, when countries like Australia, the UK, probably most of the EU, they don't even want their citizens to possess the knowledge of how to make weapons. 3D printed files are like illegal to possess in Australia, for instance. But what are they going to do? Like censor the global patent apparatus? And then even within the United States, New Jersey says that it's illegal for me to publish the plans for the Dagny Dagger on the internet. Well, good luck, New Jersey, fighting the USPTO, trying to make the federal government remove federal government material from out of public domain.
Talk about a CF.
Dude, God. That is such a troll move. That's awesome.
Well, yeah, they'll be like, okay, let us just get right on that. It'll be like 6 years before the case goes anywhere.
Well, could you imagine a foreign government coming to us and being like, dude, you got to take this off your patent website? Be like, dude, this shit moves slower than the post office.
Not a chance. Oh, but something that also interests me. So how does this affect, say, the military-industrial complex using your rounds?
That's a really good question. I always wanted, taking a very hard anti-IP stance on this. I always had this fantasy of Remington approaching us and saying, "Hey, we want to we want to be licensed to produce your projectile." And what I would say is, yeah, no problem. You can use our IP free of charge as long as you stop enforcing your own IP claims. So, I don't think they would do that, and I don't think kind of the legacy commercial corporate industry, which is, of course, tied to the military industrial complex, I don't think they would want to produce this anyway because they're kind of in bed with the government and kind of their idea of what should or shouldn't be available to us peon civilians. So I don't think they'd make it anyway. And then especially because they would perceive it as being a terrible legal risk. And it kind of is, but it would be much more of a risk to a massive corporation like that than it would be for us. Because, we're agile. Okay, fine, sue us. You've bankrupted our company, but it's open source, so somebody else is just going to take it. And we'll go on to the next project. And being sued about it and, being attacked in the court system and by the government could only be the best marketing for this that we could ask for. So, I didn't get to it earlier, but the Dagny Dagger is only the stepping stone. It was only intended at the beginning to be the stepping stone to more interesting projects in firearms technology. We have, what I think, at least as an engineer, as somebody who wants to put gun control beyond the realm of possibility, I think we have even more interesting stuff planned. And just the Dagny Dagger was what we thought would be the easiest or the cheapest way, because some of those other things, they won't cost $50,000. They will cost $500,000 or $1 million to develop. So we had to get some kind of reputational and financial platform to do that other stuff.
Yeah. I just love that your entire corporation is founded around the idea of being exclusively for this purpose. This just insane civilian innovation. And to see that as a project, as a guns. I don't know if it was
to think that it's a stepping off point.
Yeah, I myself and a lot of we're called the eMilitia because a lot of us we came from a place of firearms related politics into libertarianism. That was our number one issue before anything else. The rest came later, but
cool
to know that you guys exist, kind of in the same realm, coming right from there, because we all speak to a lot of crypto nerds, but we're more gun people, and so to see you guys out there doing very legit stuff at a very high level. Since I heard your episode on Guns of Bitcoin, I've been just excited about this from the start. So
I mean, I can't. I mean, I appreciate you saying that, and you know, I always have to be thankful for that. And it's if you guys didn't believe in this out there, then you know it's awful hard to force myself through the slog of developing this stuff. And it's your support that brings me through it. So I have nothing but gratitude for that.
It's like I said earlier, there's a lot of love in this community, and when we see people like actually putting in the footwork and being about it and dedicating their time, their lives to it, really, it means a lot. Not everyone
I'm
has
also
that
a fanboy.
Yeah.
And I was like surprised that BR could even schedule you. I was like, what? Huh? No.
Oh, we're not that big.
Well, so how's the speaking of community, how has the response been? Because I know you started your little media tour.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Bigger than I expected, I guess.
Awesome.
I was kind of thinking it would be the way it was when we first announced this project. But it seems to be larger. The Truth About Guns and the Firearms blog are doing pieces on it.
Wow. That's cool.
At one point, I was in a podcast with John Crump and what's his name? Hank Strange, of course, came into the chat and started asking questions. And apparently, it was said that he was interested in having me on his show. But I don't. Nothing's come of that since, and I just know. I mean, he has like so many like corporate sponsored stuff, so many companies that can scratch his back. And we really, being the small fries that we are, with having to ask people for donations, we don't have anything to offer in return. So I don't know if that's actually gonna work out. But I have been really, really impressed. Some of the responses we've gotten, some people that are in talks with us to maybe donate like $5,000.
Nice.
And yeah, like the kinds of excitement we're getting on the YouTube video this time, it is great. But of course it would be, because this is kind of the first like really big public publicity thing that we've done since being able to show people, we're for real, it works. And I think it was kind of to be expected from the normal boring stuff that people get from the traditional gun industry. Of course, Seriously. When we came out saying, when we announced this in the first place, saying it's going to be armor-piercing hollow point, it's going to penetrate armor really well, it's going to also do well on soft targets, like people are like, yeah, sure, buddy, whatever. But now, we have the video proving it, and it'll only get better from here. So it's really nice to be taken seriously and not just kind of crapped on the way we were in the beginning.
Oh yeah,
I think we just gotta go through and call out big people in the gun community and be like, "Why aren't you donating to this?"
Well, okay. To be honest, like I don't want to bring up a bunch of drama, but I'll tell you.
But my Instagram's my own thing, so if I do it doesn't even relate to you. Like, let's start with Lucas.
Wait, so what are you gonna say?
Just because it sticks in my craw a little bit, but the Gun Collective came out with one of their videos and just dumped all over our project, talked about how illegitimate it was, that we were crowdfunding something, and how it wasn't going to work out and it was just going to be vaporware. So I haven't followed up with them since we actually have something to show for it, but it would be nice someday if they had if they would, say, "Oops, sorry," and maybe feature our product on their platform without undue criticism.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm surprised there's been any negative response. I mean, this is fundamental development of our abilities as civilians. So anyone who, I mean, it's not like you have an unimpressive resume or any kind of lack of credibility behind what you're doing. So, damn, shocker. But I mean, I guess I'm hoping people are gonna be trying to save face now. But I think
would
beforehand. Oh, sorry.
Haters gonna hate.
Yeah.
They'll back it up with some more hate. That's what they do. That's how you know you're doing something right. Because people are fucking bitching about it, saying you're wrong.
I was gonna say, I think beforehand, people were excited for it for like kind of the political implications, rather than, you know, obviously the technical stuff is like crazy and very interesting, but just the like, oh, we might be able to circumvent this horrific gun control finally on, you know, and we're plugging holes everywhere right now and jumping ahead years at a time. But then when you get of course, like you said, the physical evidence, people are like, oh, cool, and it blew away like the last 5 years of SHOT Show. I mean, God, maybe more than that. Has there been anything innovative that wasn't like a pistol version of a battle rifle or? God.
Like I told you, with the exception of NAS3 cases, I don't think there's been anything interesting in the gun industry since Glock came onto the scene. But I will say, I'm a massive Kel-Tec fan because George Kellgren is like the only guy that's like trying to push the limits. You know, he's not inventing new technology, but at least he's giving us some really interesting configurations of the old stuff.
Yeah, he's trying to problem solve, which for most people it's more like, okay, what's going to look good on my Instagram feed? That's how it feels these days.
Yeah. Yeah, and to be honest with you guys, you know, I thought we'd be lucky, you know, armor penetrating hollow point. We'd be lucky if we got something that was just, you know, marginally better than Full Metal Jackets. You know,
yeah.
I thought we just want something that's going to perform better than a range load, something that people wouldn't be like, well, it doesn't totally suck in soft tissue. But it turns out, no, what we got was something that is, I think, better than anything else on the market. In 4.9mm. So seriously, I'm even impressed with it. I didn't expect that we could do that well.
Yeah, the ability to stop armored people with a handgun is something. I mean, just out of nowhere, it's like, oh, cool, you can do that.
Well, just going through car doors and stuff like that. Like, that was always the problem. Like, they're like, well, yeah, it will go through car doors, but is it going to go through straight? Is it going to maintain, like, so just knowing it'll go through stuff like that is a big up.
Yeah, I think so.
So, I think we're kind of covered all our bases. So, some listener questions, or is there anything else you want to kind of get into?
Oh, no, that's fine. The only thing I could think that you might want to know about, but again, hey, it's your show, is like kind of some of our other projects. But
oh, yes,
we do want to know about those.
Yeah, well, I'd like to take some listener questions also. I mean, I really like.
We can do both.
Yeah, we can wrap up with the questions. But so Atlas Arms, I mean, saying the Dagny Dagger is like the kind of the baby step, and considering how revolutionary we all consider it, I can only be excited for what can come next. So what would be what can you talk about? Because I know you're probably there's some things that are better kept under wraps for now. But
yeah, I think, I mean, I don't want to go into detail. Some projects will go into more detail than others. But I'm really excited about it. Like, some of the stuff I'm going to tell you, I feel like, I almost feel discredited talking about because it's so like far reaching and out there. But I hope that by now we've given people an idea that we are credible and that the stuff I talk about is possible. I don't know. So there's been some video of it, some kind of mention of it publicly, but not a lot. Another project we're working on now is an ammo hose. That's the best way I can describe it. But think about this. Imagine if you cross-sectioned a magazine, right? Like cut it in half. The cross-sectional shape of that magazine. Imagine a chain of links that had that cross section in it, and it formed a chain or a hose. Okay, and then imagine on the end of that hose was something that looked like it was essentially like the shell of a magazine that you could plug into a standard magazine-fed firearm, like a Glock. At the end of this hose looks like a Glock.
I think I know what you're getting at.
I think so. I think you can see it about this point. So you shove ammo through this hose, and you can feed a mag-fed firearm as if it's a belt-fed.
Holy shit! Okay.
So, yeah, and so like at the other end of this thing,
all through the magazine. So
like a magazine shape.
No, what I'm saying though is like just about anything with a magazine could then be turned into a belt fed.
Yes, exactly. And not only that, but you wouldn't have to belt the ammunition. You know, you don't need to use links. You don't need an expensive like delinker mechanism. You know, all that weight is taken off of the gun. And what it will be is like, think about a hopper of ammo that's like 500 or 1,000 rounds.
Like a paintball gun or an airsoft or something like that.
Yeah, but like this hopper could be like in a backpack on your back. And there will be a motor that feeds ammo from that hopper through the hose into the gun. So, you know, you've got this backpack and you've just got like 1,000 rounds on tap.
I already want to start manufacturing the backpacks.
So yeah, that we're real happy about that. And we've just kind of gotten to a point of that project where it went from being, you know, here's this idea. Is it even possible? To now we have a physical prototype.
Oh, damn.
And it's powered by hand crank. You know, we're nowhere near ready to show it in full functionality, but at least we know now that it's absolutely possible, and we're making progress on it pretty fast. And I guess I should shout out at this point to our intern. He goes online by Suckboy Tony, and is otherwise kind of infamous for making a 100% 3D printed bolt action 50 caliber pistol.
That's the bolter.
Yes, exactly. That's it. So he's our intern. He moved out here to Flagstaff to work with us, and he's great at 3D printing. And it's some of the 3D printing techniques that he has applied to this project, which has helped us move so quickly on it. So
yeah, I thought your so-called poverty pony had a printed lower, so that was him.
Oh, it did. Yeah. And you know that he didn't print, like I printed that. But I should, at this point, it's a good time to say, thanks to Ivan for coming up with that U-bolt stuff. And thanks Pew for giving me the files for the AR9 lower before they were publicly available. Because without that...
Oh, you dick.
Well, I'm sorry, okay?
No, it's okay. No, go on.
Maybe I'm a little bit privileged. I don't know. But yeah, and then also to Vin Wynn, who's another member of the printing gun community. I know this is going to make some people hate me, but I've never been a fan of the AR. I've never liked AR-15s. I've never owned one, and this is the first one I owned just because we had to to do testing with the Dagger. And Vin helped me assemble the thing, make sure that the CMMG bolt and barrel were working correctly. So I got a shout out of thanks to him as well.
Nice. A lot of good people around.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, this is a tangent, I guess, but you know, I talk about the militia industrial complex, and you know how we're making this new thing that challenges the old stagnant arms industry. And you know, after going to this Bear Arms and Bitcoin conference and meeting all these guys face to face, I couldn't be more optimistic about the future. I met Control Pew. I met Vin, Michael R. I met out there. He knows who he is. And from making wind chimes to
I love the
FG
sound of those.
Yeah, right. There's some amazing things happening in the space, and previously, even even being hooked up with the DIY arms community before the Guns and Bitcoin event, I felt largely alone. I felt kind of isolated, thinking, like, okay, everybody's doing 3D printed guns, which is, a great thing, but I felt like I was the only one that was working on stuff that wasn't printed or wasn't about 3D printing in the space. And this was, even before I met up with the printed gun community, the idea was to challenge the existing system and to make an industry that's better. And after meeting these guys, like, it's happening. It's not just Atlas Arms. I realize, like, this is everywhere. It's not just 3D printing in a vacuum. These guys are making it happen. From Control Pew to Ivan to Incarbonite, like all these guys now. There's cause for nothing but optimism.
And honestly, the technology is advancing quickly. Like, it's ridiculous how far it's come in so little time. Your project itself, like when I first learned about it back in, I think it was like around November, when Mel told us about it. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, in a few years, we'll see some more progress. And the fact that you've come this far this fast.
To be honest with you guys, though, in my surprise, because you only learned about it in November, but it did take a couple of years. And for a long time, for a year and a half there, we were going nowhere fast. And we kept, chugging and chugging at the same old problems. And to be honest, for a year and a half, we didn't have a product. We didn't have a bullet that wouldn't just explode in the barrel. And then we finally, like a year and a half, me being depressed and thinking like, oh man, maybe this is impossible. Maybe I can't actually do it. Finally, it happened. And only 2 months after our first real success, did we shoot that demo video. So, it wasn't going anywhere. And now it's going faster than I can believe.
2,300 FPS to be exact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time I see that number on paper, I'm like, but I'm glad that it turned around, and I'm super glad that you decided to stick with it, because I know how it is working on something for a long time and getting nowhere, and just like the metaphorical equivalent of just bashing your head against concrete, and you're like, will this eventually go somewhere?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But hopefully it's all clear sailing now. So a lot of our listeners are very excited about this project, just as I expected they would be, and I've got maybe 6 questions that are like kind of standing out amongst these. So you down for them?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So first one, relevant to what we're on about. People are asking, how can we support you? So like, where would they physically head to support you guys?
Yeah. Okay. So you can donate to us by one of 2 currencies. We accept USD, shocker, through by credit card, and that is hosted. We've got a crowdfunding campaign hosted on gundynamics.com. Gundynamics is it's a crowdfunding site that is specifically for firearms related projects. Nice. And of course, that's because we get immediately kicked off of Indiegogo and Kickstarter and whatever. Yeah. So you can donate via credit card there. Share a link to that crowdfunding page if you'd like. And then also, if you go to our homepage, you can see a link there to donate Bitcoin. Or I think if you go to atlasarms.org/BTC, I think that'll also get you there. But through our website, you can donate Bitcoin either through BTC Pay or through a Samurai Wallet Paynim if you're really, really, privacy conscious. Those are the 2 ways to do it. But yeah, please do check out our website in general, though, atlasarms.org. You'll find out basically all the more or less public info about me and the other contributors to the project, and the company itself, the Dagny Dagger project, and we even have another project of sorts that's hosted there that you can check out. Go to our website, look around. And I guess like not funding wise, but if you want to kind of follow the more day-to-day stuff, the more incidental things that we don't post on our website or on YouTube, then follow us on Twitter.
Nice. So we'll include all that in the description of this, so you can just click away and find everything previously mentioned. All right. So also moving on from that, a lot of people will be hearing, oh, you can use various metals for this if you want to print it, or if you want to manufacture it at home. And so they're going to be thinking, right, so my Ender 3 is probably not going to do the trick. So what one thing a lot of people are asking is, what would they need to manufacture the Dagny Dagger at home?
Okay, so ideally, and again, we're not there in the project yet.
Yeah.
But what it's looking like is the turnkey solution will require, number one, a ghost gunner, and number two, an SLA 3D printer. The fact of the matter is, so let's start with the printer. The jackets are polymer, so we've done some experimentation. It looks very promising that you'll be able to 3D print them.
Cool.
But bullets are not guns. Guns have looser tolerances. Bullets have to be almost like 10 times as precise as guns. Bullets have to be a very, very tight tolerance diameter. I mean, on the order of like 0.3 of a thousandth of an inch. So that is beyond the tolerance of typical 3D printer like an Ender 3 FDM style printer.
Yeah.
You will need an SLA printer to do it. But fortunately, there's some pretty cheap options these days. I think like the One House 7 should be able to do it, and that costs like $300. And then of course you need like the curing chamber and a couple other things. But
that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
The technology on that's only getting better fast. Also
cheaper. Yep.
Yeah, it is. So so kind of the turnkey solution for making the jacket is to print it with an SLA printer, and then the turnkey solution for making the core, whatever material you make it out of, is the ghost gunner. And this is where it gets really interesting for me. And this is kind of another small project, kind of a spin-off project for Atlas Arms. The ghost gunner, as most of your listeners probably know, is a mill. What defines a mill is that the workpiece is held on a table, and then you have a spinning cutter, like similar to a drill bit, that cuts away the material, cuts it down to the shape of the final piece.
Yeah.
But a lathe is kind of the reverse. You put your workpiece in the spindle, and your workpiece spins, and then you have a cutter on the table that cuts away the material on that. So lathes are better for making round things, whereas mills make things of a complex shape. So we have this project, the Ghost Gunner Lathe, making a tool center for the Ghost Gunner that will add lathe capability to the Ghost Gunner itself. This will allow you not only to machine cores, to make cores for the Dagny Dagger, but this can, you can make all kinds of other bullets and interesting things. So, you can turn premium solid copper 224 projectiles. You can make them out of brass if you wanted to, again, take the law into your own hands. You can make it out of steel if you wanted to take the law. Yeah, right. Yeah. But anything round you'll be able to make with this, that's a reasonable size. You'll be able to make with this add-on that we're planning. And I should say also, I don't know how many of your listeners follow ECM barrel rifling. You can ECM a barrel, make a barrel rifled yourself at home. But even you'll be able to make like electrodes to chamber those barrels with the Ghost Gunner lathe. So right now you're kind of limited to
no shit.
But because you can just ream it out straight, But in the future, you'll be able to, cut a copper ECM electrode with the Ghost Gunner and use that to chamber an ECM barrel for something like 5.56 that has a shoulder.
That's huge.
Yeah, so
that's huge.
We're real proud of it. At least the idea. We've just barely begun working on it. Of course, the Dagger development takes priority, but that is our solution for the easiest way to make cores and to make jackets.
Okay, to make cores, like, could you make that on a traditional lathe?
Yeah, you could. You can. And, the Ghost Gunner is easier because it's CNC, and it's becoming a standard platform for the home machinist who has a large budget. But honestly, you can make the cores are simple enough. It's just a sharpened stud. So you could do that with like a drill press and a file if you wanted to.
Okay.
So, jackets you can't. Jackets have to be, you could do them with the Ghost Gunner. You could do them with a 3D printer. Probably not the best idea to try to do it with a drill press, but at least the core you can do with the drill press.
Okay, well, that is pretty do-it-yourselfer.
Yeah,
seriously.
I think so. And then, of course, once you have the core and the jacket, then you'll bond them together with an adhesive, just like we do. In fact, the process will look very similar to how I press the core into the jacket in that demo video.
With just like a standard arbor press.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, the FUD monopoly on reloading has just died. a quick and clean death. 21st century reloading is going to be pretty damn interesting.
I hope so. Awesome. And of course, we'll tell you load data that we use, and you can reload it just like you would hand load any ammunition.
Awesome. So that's another question, and you kind of touched on it a little bit. Obviously the Dagny Dagger is starting out in 9mm, but you have plans to expand it to like all kind of common calibers, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That was a big one. Everyone's like, "Is this coming out in 5.56?" Yes, that's a plan.
Oh, yeah.
So, do you think it would take much more once you've got the Dagny Dagger like kind of publicly released? Like you're able to send boxes of the ammunition to people. How long do you think it'll take you? Just rough as you like before we start seeing other calibers from you guys?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because even when we start to produce this, the Dagger is expensive, and again, I mean that it is what it is. But remember, we're a small company. It's very difficult for us to get funding the way we would if we were a normal corporate gun industry thing. So we got to start small in this and then scale up. In fact, we're talking about serious. Very, very serious startup capital in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that'll still only make a few thousand boxes of ammunition.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to scale up. It's gonna take some time. So our scaling efforts will kind of coincide with developing other calibers and cartridges. So it's gonna take some time, but I don't think it'll be that bad. And we already know the secret to making the Dagger work. We just have to adapt the geometry and optimize the geometry for other stuff. I think it will cost us about $5,000 per additional caliber to develop.
Oh, damn.
Which is pretty low, considering.
No, I mean, if you just put out the word that 223 is next on the chopping block, 308, whatever it might be, and everyone will be like, "Oh, cool, take my money, shut up and take my money."
I can only hope so. But I think it'll happen fast too. I think it probably 6 months maybe is what it would take us to develop each caliber after that. And of course, we could develop them in parallel. So, maybe it takes us 6 months, but we would come out with, like 40 Smith & Wesson and 10mm at the same time. And then 5.5, like 300 blackout and 308 at the same time, or something like that. So hopefully within like a year and a half, we will have like 223, 300 blackout, 308, 10mm and 40 Smith & Wesson, 357 SIG, I really want to get to 5.7. And then people have really started to clamor for like 357 Magnum and 45 ACP. So we might get there.
Those would be some fast bullets.
Yeah.
Here's a good one. So, do you know how much they weigh? And then do you think you do different weights or just...
Yeah, so our target weight is for 9mm at least is 50 grains.
Okay.
I think that after doing some optimization, the bullets that like our current prototypes are about almost exactly 48.5 grains. Which is, that's extremely lightweight for 9mm, and it's in part how we get those ridiculous velocities.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about it, though, it's not that bad. Comparing it to like 5.7, where like the heaviest 5.7 bullets are 40 grains, and even like 5.56, my range loads for 5.56 are 55 grains. So it's not that bad. It's not nothing, even though it's lightweight for 9mm.
I think we're about at the end of my questions, unless Resi has any. But my last one would be: have you had any kind of reliability issues in terms of like chambering and such?
We did in the beginning.
Yeah.
But honestly, like we solved the issues of like chambering and ejection and that kind of stuff. We solved that even before we reliably had a bullet that wouldn't explode in the barrel. Yeah. So. I mean, it works. Like even in that carbine, even an AR-9 with delayed blowback lugs, it's really, really rough on a bullet. I mean, I'll even put like a full metal jacket 9mm barrel in that, and it'll eject. It'll eject with like marks all over it and dents in the bullet. So it's really rough on bullets, but still, the Dagger. It gets it doesn't look the prettiest if you chamber it and then take it out, but it functions 100% reliably.
Nice. That's big, especially with like an experimental round. Least of your worries. That's nice. So I lied. I do have one more question. So, how do you think the state's going to react to this? When it's really ground and kind of becomes, I don't know, common knowledge that there's a bullet that's capable. The space age green tip. Do you think they're gonna try and do an arms race kind of deal with catching up technology, or like legally or otherwise?
Well, we've already had somebody kind of try to hook us up with a government contract. Of course, they want us to make it with a steel core, a tungsten core, or something like that. Something that citizens wouldn't be allowed to have. Yeah. And of course, I told them the entire point of this project is equality of the law, is to make sure that we have the same stuff as the government. So of course, I'm not going to give you make a special form for the government. I think though, I mean, I have to say, and I don't want to be arrogant or anything, but I gotta say the Dagger, if we were using a steel core or a tungsten core, to make it cheaper, and then a tungsten core would make it even better than it is. If we were doing that, then it is better than the AP ammo that police and military personnel already use. So I think that not exactly the state but I think kind of local police, individual police officers, I think they are going to be wanting to purchase and use the Dagger. I mean, and the technology's there, and we all know how it works. If the United States government wants to deploy it, they'll make it themselves, or they'll find one of their crony corporations to make it for them. IP be damned.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It'll be very interesting. I'll definitely feel disappointed if the state picks up on this and it becomes like the newest thing that they use to wage violence indiscriminately across the world. But that's not me. Like, I won't feel responsible for that. And at the same time, I will feel kind of pride as an engineer. So I hope they don't pick up on it, but I guess it wouldn't be the end of the world as long as, again, we have access. And as we're open sourcing it, you can't unring the bell. And as much as they write words on paper telling police officers to hurt people who dare to make it themselves, they can't stop it. So even if the government picks up on it, if nothing else, we would still be in a more equal position with them than had I not embarked on this project.
100%. Like, Kalashnikov didn't arm the Taliban, and you won't be arming the government. You'll just be providing something that the citizens didn't have before and now will. And it's in the best possible way. It's Pandora's box. Once it's open, it's out there, like you said, and finally, citizens will be equal in the 21st century sense, because now we all will have the ability to manufacture it rather than be reliant on just commercial avenues. So it's big, and I'm really glad that's it's a door that's going to be opened, and that'll be that. It'll be just like 3D printing. The files are always out there. This technology, if you try and ban 3D printing or mills and lathes, I mean,
good luck.
Yeah. Like, you're gonna have a really shitty time kicking in doors across this country, taking away every single device capable. So again, it's just one of those beautiful things for us anarchists to be like, yep, it's out there. just shit-eating smile, and like, it's done. You've lost. The debate is over, as I say. 3D printing community, it's done. So I'm really excited for this to continue, and of course I'll have to discuss with you later, but I'll be doing everything I can to help out, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna have that same kind of enthusiasm. So thanks for coming on the show, man, and thank you for all you're doing.
I appreciate it on a personal level, you having me on, and believing in the project, having faith in it, supporting it, trying to spread the word. That means an awful lot to me, and I know that it means an awful lot to the other people working on the project with me.
Oh yeah. Well,
thanks for coming on.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.